So you have been to Cambodia now and spent quite good amount of time in Nepal. So first of all, how's your morning going? It's quite early for you too. I mean, it's 11 a.m.
Yes, you mean in Cambodia?
Yeah, yes, yes.
Being a long time on Southeast Asia right now, and having a very nice weather by the way here, and having a very nice time. This year had a lot of tragedies around the world, and now I am in a place in a hot weather in a nice environment. Very good here.
Yeah. So I mean, I want to take you back to when you came to Nepal and when you had the press conference. And there was the one questions when they asked, "Will you implement the Spanish philosophy as usual?" People ask that, and I think you touch upon it depends on the kind of players you have. So I want to ask you, how would you like to play? How would you like to play?
uh, to implement the styles, to these questions related always by culture, by, of course, I born in Barcelona, then this coach should be a Spanish style coach and so on. And I think on that, we are a bit naive, uh, everyone, in terms of what's the meaning of play Spanish football, right? And
Yes.
I think we need to flow any of the countries, any of the places we are doing this job of coaching. We need to flow, and my ability or my way I want to approach the football side is adapting, and absorbing onto the places I am, and this is the difficulty, right? And then, of course, to give a know-how or to give something that is not common on the place. And maybe on that case, yes, there is some Spanish factors, Spanish culture factors,
Yeah.
not only in methodology, but maybe also on the way to be, on the way to behave. And my idea is that football should be played by calmness, by some bravery, and also, of course, with a lot of organization. That's the main points I want to bring onto a team. And a lot of these points are related with the Spanish philosophy, of course. And the challenge when I arrived to Nepal, but I was ready for that, I was understanding that, is that when we talk about the calmness, to be calm, not only as a person, I mean on the field, I mean on the trainings, to implement that calmness, I don't want to talk that strong as all Nepal is like that. Of course not, but generally speaking, those calmness are the most, uh, let's say, challenging situations to implement. What's the meaning of calmness in a shop? What's the meaning? Is
Yeah.
it only speak slow? Not. Is it only delay the mistakes? No. The calmness means that
Understanding of the tempo, understanding of the tempo of the game. I think that's what
also,
you want to
if we
say.
go in the unities on the game, one of the things is the tempo, of course, or the moments that the game has. For example, when I see top level games in the higher leagues around the world, let's say the histories on the games are less. What's the meaning of that? The histories during the games are less. There is only one, two, or three histories. That is, one team dominate, the other team defends properly. The referee is doing, and what I have seen on meanwhile on the time that we were spending in Nepal is that all the games has all the histories around. You have your best moment. You have, you know what I mean. You have also bad spells and all about that. Good spells, bad spells. Under my point of view, is the best situation to improve when the game is a little more controlled by any aspect at any moment and by any element of the game.
It's more chaotic, in your opinion. It's more chaotic,
Yes,
because
it is.
yeah,
Definitely.
very good.
It is.
Yeah.
It's chaotical, it's unpredictable, which creates another scenarios the game. I'm looking all the or a lot of participants also in your podcast are talking about the exactly that, right? Or some players that was performing in NSL where uh, the situations are we accept the challenge, but we know it's very different compared with other experience we had around the world. I heard some of the players, and it's very important to point to look the point of view of the players itself, how they face the game in the middle or in the inside the field. I mean, and it's very
Yes.
interesting to hear by this perspective the players where they understand that the unities are much more different, and this is very beautiful. Actually, that's very beautiful to see, and it's chaotic. The reason is chaotic, and I've seen that this chaos can be also accepted. There's nothing wrong with this chaos. It's nothing, because chaos is a word. Chaos is a word that seems like
Bad. Yeah,
exactly,
bad thing.
like a
Yeah,
negative, like in the back of the
yeah,
negative
yeah,
space. And
yeah.
for me, it's not. That's why exactly I'm today in Phnom Penh, one of the capitals of Southeast Asia, and I cannot say that it's an organized city. Of course not, compared with Oslo, the capital of Norway. But those
Yeah.
chaos also are to be respected because the chaos by times, and I know I'm stepping out of football, but for me, it's pretty similar what happens on and off the field and also on and off the football. So chaos is nothing that is so negative at that point. It's something that you need to deal with and something that you usually need to have much more organizational skills in the chaos or onto the chaos, right? That in a very calm scenario.
Mhm. So even after I did the review of NSL, and only two teams that I praised was Lalitpur and Jhapa. And one of the most reason was how I see the game. It was more like at least I knew what they planned. The organization. I knew what they want to do off the ball and on the ball. And I will say I've said so many times, Zappa pressing was one of the most organized pressing in the league. And the sad part is those two teams I said were the best finished fourth and fifth. So that little bit changed the scenario how people see the game. But what I felt was if given the longer league, I said that Jhapa and Lalitpur would be competing even more, maybe 1-2, 1-2. We might say see for the longer period because the pressing and I want you to explain those things. What how you analyze the game? How you made Zappa play. So, in terms of pressing, can you elaborate more about Zappa's pressing?
Yes. Actually, the pressing is a moment of the game, right? It's a moment of the game. But for me, the pressing is something, is a signal. Pressing is a signal, all right? Pressing is a input that dictates the rest of the situations on the game, all right? So pressing is the main style, let's say, or the main identity that a team can have, under my point of view, to send a message. And football need to send message. So when we talk
Yes.
about what's the meaning of attack, what's the meaning of defense, what's the meaning of have the ball in possession, and what's the meaning of press? So press is like this sentence. Let's say that this
Promise.
message exactly, and this message onto the audience and the supporters, and of course to the opposition, where you say, I do not accept you have the ball that much. And
Yeah.
this is a game, right? Football is a game. So as it's a game, it takes a lot of sense. I remember going back to the school times. I know I need to go so backwards, but when I was learning about all these things, and this yes should come from the Spanish philosophy, where I had a teacher telling me what happens if you have two little boys, maybe 3-year-old boys, and one has the ball on his hands, even in the hands, doesn't matter that it's football. What will do the other? So all of a sudden, what we'll do is go and try to catch this ball, grab the ball, and be with me. Uh, this idea, this need to be, of course, in a complex scenario and in an organized way to do when we are talking tactically, but the principle is exactly the same, right? It's a game. I want the ball, and I will do something very quick and permanent on the game to win the ball. And most important on that, also about the pressing situations, and that's where the football it's becoming something amazing, is how the players will tolerate, how the players will tolerate to press the oppositions, how the players will wonder to execute a pressing. So let's say that the master class of pressings usually are done by Jurgen Klopp in Liverpool. Not now, maybe a few years ago. I'm not talking about actual football or this week football, but about generally
Yeah,
speaking, last
Ralph
year, you know,
Ragnick, Ralph
or
Ragnick.
as a coach, exactly, or as a coach is a coach that do that pressing systems that nail it, let's say. And one more time, I go to the situation where the player has a role. The player has a role on messages, and I remember some of of his players under his belts talking about how they learned, plus how they enjoyed taking this pressing. And always is
Mm.
the approach, always will be the approach where when we give a message to the players, you should press, or the players executes this pressing. This the ambition to do that. The ambition comes from the heart, comes by heart for those professionals that are the players. When they love to do that, by the reason of this game, they understand the reason to do that. There is not an effort. There is not an effort that creates tiredness, but is an effort that creates ambition. Is when the pressing systems works well. And actually, I'm going to this point much more that the movements, because the movements, the whiteboards, the tactical paths, all these things that of course we are supported by and we use are a secondary part. The main part is to go to the players, to the squad, to our members, and tell to them, look, this is something that creates that consequence, and that consequence will make something good onto the game. And then of course there is this sentence, you know, where you are pressing, your strikers or offensive players are the first defenders, and this is a very crucial way, let's say, to be defender, to be defensive, to be very
Yeah,
defensive. Yeah, that's one of the reasons.
yeah. They have to
Yeah.
block they have to they have to cover shadow it, they have to press so well, these
Yes.
angles. I mean, first of all, you touch upon two very good things which I really wanted to talk. And I, first of all, I really sometimes when people talk about tactics, I think the methodology is very missing topic. I think there should be more of the talks about methodology. Because like, what is the tactic? It's numbers. You play 4-2-3-1, you can change it to 4-3-3. Doesn't matter. Just bring the lone pivot and play it. So you touch upon methodology so nicely, and of course, being from Barcelona and Catalan, I want to actually again. I think again under Cruyff, Cyril Low, the guy who designed the Barcelona methodology, and it's followed
Yes.
by Pep. So I really wanted to ask your opinion upon those methodology and how you see it.
Yeah, of course. I nourished a lot of books. I went on to a few libraries. By times was mandatory, you know, on my time as a student, and by times was, of course, is once again when you read that by this passion. And I'm not talking just as a student. I'm talking just about that.
Viewer of the
That
game.
exactly that choosing that you need to choose, because there is a not much more, right? If we go to the Zanettis or to another kind of methodologies, also are very interesting and very welcome to learn and to double check, and you will always face that other methodologies. But you mentioned Seirulo, and you mentioned Pep, and of course you mentioned the big one, Johan Cruyff, which I really has a big admiration. Yes, it's funny because we discussed with my father, and he's not that fan of him. Where maybe
Oh,
he remember him as a player. I don't know why. Well, that's two different generations, right? But I learned the
or
Cruyff
maybe
that
dad is a Real Madrid fan.
no, no, it's also Barcelona. I'm saying also because at some point I can tell that I admire FC Barcelona in some moments, maybe not now, but about going back to the Johan Cruyff and this simplistic, pragmatic way of methodology, and of course Pep's Guardiola implementation of all of this growth, and again from the field onto the bench, that's very beautiful, because you know there is maybe coaches and methodologies that doesn't bring that continuity, but those ones has this continuity, right? This kind of continuity all the way of their life doing this, and the scientifics behind doing this. So that's the reason, and maybe the key word of the methodology is because of that steady on the time, right? Steady on the time. So once say that, all what I look on this methodology is how beautiful it is to be implemented, and especially how the players enjoy to do that. What's the meaning of Cruyff methodology, or Seirulo fitness approach for methodology, or Pep's approach
Critical
to
aspect.
play tactically. Exactly, both of different, because some of them goes much more to the tactical point. For me, Guardiola is much orientated on the every time he's talking about the spaces, movements, spaces
Time.
to take. Yeah, and I don't think that Cruyff was on that. Cruyff was much more
Yeah.
about the tempo, exactly as you mentioned. The tempo was much more simple, and I don't want to
Mhm.
say and compare with no one of them zero, but I need to which one of the approaches makes me more comfortable to understand. And one more time, when I see the interviews or the speeches of Johan Cruyff, how easy he explained it, even talking very bad Spanish by times, because he was Netherlands person. So the way he explained in Spanish, even in English, is not accurate at all, but it's very understandable. And then for the players, probably he did the same. I had a very beautiful chances to be long time, not all my life, but long time, with some of the players was on his dressing room. One of them is from my same area of same town or same area of Spain. And it's very beautiful to see that when you know in first hand that all what we know by the books, all what we know by the videos, all what we know by this mass media impact, as big ones they are, they really was like that in the short distance, in the close distance. And it's to make football simple. There is sentences as the ball never gets tired. For example, this
Yeah.
is part of the
Yeah.
methodology. Or the best way to defend is, to attack. Of course, this it's created, and again, it's a line. What I enjoy on that is a line on the joy of the players, because some moments of my coaching life, I play a flat 5-4-1 because it was needed. Because I was playing a team that was maybe a 300 positions
Mhm.
above in the club AFC ranking.
Yeah.
So if I'm not do something, strategy will create a very bad impact in the result. And then this has another impacts also. Maybe somehow we can have a point on that, but. When you do these efforts, the joy of the player is different. So the player has a target, but not a joy. You put a target to the player that is view of the ball, because we play that game by that and by the reasons of the result. But the joy of the player is missed. The joy usually is much more arriving on these ways. And one more thing about these methodologies is how the players take their week, how the players take their preparation, because every one of us need to understand that to perform that well football, for example, when the Barcelona or even the Spanish national team were the bigger among the big ones, uh,
International. Yeah.
you can see that somehow there is a different point in onto the other methodologies, that is the joy of the players, the way the players take as a really a game, small players making big things, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
this message again, this way created to me a lot of love for that sport, and especially try to follow or try to, yeah, by times do something similar. Yeah.
So you said like you have played 5-4-1 flat because team required it. So my question is, tactics and principle of play are two different things, and sometimes people don't understand that when they criticize the team. So when you played 5-4-1, did the principle of play remain the same? Maybe even when 5-4-1, you can have the eye line. You cannot go too deep. So can you touch on that?
uh, it depends, but I think my point on that, when we are doing the activity, knowing the consequence of the criticism or knowing the consequence of the audience about their opinions, uh, is sensitive if it's that important, or is more important the message we give. So let's say that things are well executed, when the things are well executed, the things are aligned to the results. And if the results are usually there, all the criticism or point of view will be much more understood. So, for example, if you are a team that used to play on away, but have great attitudes but not results. Give me this. I put you this example: a team that play on away or with leaders on the field, old players and playing on away. I'm putting just an scenario. But this team has great attitudes. No one is checking or viewing a bad attitude, but the results are not there. And all of a sudden, this team is creating a change. They turning the wheel, both players and coaches, and then they play in another way, and the team has a result. I think that this never will create a big criticism. What's the criticism based? The criticism is based, of course, when there is mistakes, or there is bad behaviors, or there is a bad management by someone, and this is very understandable. This is the situation and scenarios where the people will complain. And usually, I think that even if the professionals we say people is not patient enough, the reality is people is patient, but just people is a spectator of something happens, and if there is spells, teams, or situations where the result don't arrive, anyone will have a big complaint of that. One say that again. If you have a history to tell, you know what I mean. If you have a history to tell, your team has a history to tell, and this history goes nearby a nice success. And remember that success doesn't mean win. You know, yeah, of course, this sentence is all by the books, but it's a reality. It's a
Yeah.
reality, and I see a lot of sportsmen where I admire. Carlos Sainz is a car driver that now win the Dakar.
Carlos Sainz, yeah, Ferrari, yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah,
F1, yeah.
he's 61. He's 61 year old. So I admire him because you know how many times he need to lose, how many times his car break, and he was a meme in Spain because his car break near the finish line of the road, and was a meme during 3 years as a loser. But he's a winner, you know. And but the fine line between winners and the meaning of winners, but not trophies winners, but winners during the unities is sensitive. And again, this is something that is maybe the target of the second teams, the third teams, the fourth teams, the fifth teams, the teams that don't reach the playoff, the teams that fight for the relegations can be winners also. You can fight for a relegation and be a winner team because you are having a winner spirit, let's say. And then again, if you have that, most likely and by heart of good people looking around football will be very well appreciated. You don't need only to win to be a, let's say, to be a winner or to be successful, especially.
So when you arrived at Jhapa, and I mean, to be very honest, you had like good team. I mean, I looked at players, it was a quite good team. I mean, Anjan Bista was there, and so a young player, under 19 player, Loxem was there, and so many good team. And the left back, he isn't actually left back, but Sumit played as a left back for you. So when you arrived at Jhapa and when you addressed the team, uh, what was your message about principle of play and how you gonna implement the tactics? How it went at the start to convince the players? I mean, to portray your idea. I mean, with the players.
Yes, yes, I get your point. Need to be a mix, okay? Need to be a mix. Need to be a deal. Need to be a deal. I need to be smart enough to see the players' limit to or edge to the moment that they will like or not like to do something or execute something, and we need to also create the environment that will be appropriate to make the things happen. And the first point is that always is this balance you mentioned first, this shape of the squad, or I mean this balance of the squad, or this way to a squad is built. And on that I don't have, let's say, too much to I was not too much on before I signed Japa, right? Because this amount of players, group of players, even if you want to know, in the auction of Japa FC, I was even maybe not signed, not very near to sign, but I was not personally taking part. So let's say that that's a great credit. That's a great credit to the way the Nepalese side was organized, and the balance of this squad. That beautiful balance of this squad. That, if you ask me, Of course, every single squad or season, I'm working with different groups of human. When there is this young generation, I do fell in love. I was very comfortable with that, but need to be always need to be aligned and guided also by all these experienced players that we have. So first of all is this part, right, that a team that is very heterogenical but balanced. Need to be just in a, all the way. Like, let's think about this modern football. This coach only likes the young generations. No, modern football is as again going not only football, modern people. Okay, let me say like that. Not only modern football, modern people need to be kind of open-minded. So not only young, not only old, not only players that will perform on the only their own style. For example, this market player, or of course, when we have the chance to have Anjan with us, Laxman with us, it's easier to me to know how we will play because they have their own very own and created style, and this is adapted to the to the game, and this is let's say orientated to play on a style. And this is great. That's the best we can have to then modulate and implement overall style. And one more part is how we can uh, do it by together. So how is linked, how is attached all those individuals, all those ways, all those performances, and the idea of a coach. But you know something, when we went in, when I was in Jhapa and I arrived and the players look on the foreigner coach, there is I have a own experience on that where, and it's lovely. It's something that I fell in love, is that the acceptance and the happiness of those players of my squad in terms of to have me on the leadership as a head coach was very beautiful. You know, this is something that makes me warm because I need to demonstrate also that I will be useful for them, right? But somehow, you understand what I mean? The rating beforehand, the and this is very warm. This is very good. It's proper. It's very good. I do like, of course, there is environments, there is places probably, or there is situations in football where you arrive in a very hostile scenario. You understand what I mean? You arrive to a
Yeah.
dressing room, you arrive, and of course, these the professionals that challenge that face that will need to do the same job in terms of convince. So at the end of the day, we need to convince the players,
Yeah.
but of course it's much more helpful and it's much beautiful when it's like that. We went onto the human side all the time. We step as a humans more than as a professionals or more as a football persons, and then they was very ready. It's true that the for somehow I felt a slight communication barrier, so but not as excuse, as a normal point, and that it is something that is there million percent always created on the generations gap. So as the closer in the age are the player, more closer also used to be to talk and communicate and have a feedback with a coach. And this means that the captains, that the leaders of the team in the field, that those players with experience usually have the skills also to be close and not create that barrier, but to educate or to make perform the youngers somehow is easy for their desire, but difficult to create the messages quick and understandable enough because, of course, they used to be a little more hesitating, the players on that. And it's very normal. It's also experience matter and is a self-protection situation, which always ends up, not always, but most of times ends up beautifully when the player performance is in the field.
So I think against Ilam, you started with 4-2-3-1. I think 4-2-3-1. I think then again, I think against Kathmandu 4-4-2. Then
Yes.
4-3-3 finally gave you some wins. But again, last game it wasn't how you liked it. So those transitions from those formations, I mean, yeah, formation. It's again, it's a part. It's not everything, but it's at least something. How you start with the base and everything. So, what I wanted to ask is 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, 4-3-3. How it went? You know how it went. Why you changed it to 4-4-2? Then at last you came back to 4-3-3, and maybe it was before 4-3-3. Then result would be different. Even after NSL is finished, how you have analyzed the performance in terms of performance tactically?
Yes, very interesting. I'm still on that process, but this is a very beautiful situation, of course, because this is exactly aligned for the players' comfort. First of all, the execution on a plan, but also adapted for the squad members you have. This is related a lot of times with uh, empathy for the overall group, even Jhapa, and this is a slight adjustment because it's something very related. This midfield three. If we talk exactly what happened between the two pivots and going exactly to the change to the fourth to the 4-2-3-1 to the going to the 4-3-3 or 4-1-4-1 shape. I will be clear, of course, and I will give you the key point on that is how I see that is the difficulty. And let me explain. I think it will be easy to understand. The difficulty to play the double pivot is exactly same difficulty to play two strikers. So what Oriol is telling now, what that kind of history uh, is all about. So why two strikers by time? Let me go for that. Why two strikers by time don't perform exactly as people expect? They have two strikers, but they don't score that much amount of goals. When I had in 2019, I had an experience as that. We expect that two strikers means or two great strikers means the double amount of goals. Of course not. But let me explain then. Two pivots, two midfielders, maybe holding midfielders on the scenario of a 4-2-3-1 has the security that they will defend the double or better, or they will cover better spaces as only one single pivot? And then the answer is not. Two number eights, so
Mm.
it's 4-3-3. Two offensive midfielders. Uh, are they capable to create more offensive threat than a single number 10 player? So this question, all right, this question always will be related under my perspective, maybe genuine, maybe it's not the only reason, but I found that reason is very related with the communication and is very related with the player understanding to play the meaning of play two. Striker two, midfielder two is the same. It's the meaning of two, the meaning of B2, the meaning of complement movements, and the meaning of cover spaces and create spaces on the field, or to defend together and be. And then it's very difficult. Then let's say that it's very difficult to have to have great success and immediate success or very very coordinated success if the players are not very used to do that. All right, so that's clear that during our own games, and that's clear by the circumstance we had. Everyone knows about the situation where we had difficulties all around the midfielders, not only by the players that never, unfortunately, was performing as Laken, but the situations that we had also with our own midfielders, Nando and then Prashan, and having different members having the option to play there, even the injury of Dirats, and then I need to make that choose, but also I need to create that pragmatism. So I see our players very, very, very ready to be single pivots. So then they give everything and every single situation. Also, I do guess that the team overall was much more open-minded, something which I need to tell that I have criticism on that, because long time ago I'm hearing sentence such, we are used to do that, so let's do that. Of course, for a short term period, the
Yeah.
adaptation on that, my way of let's say the proudness of a coach shouldn't be their own only reason. The proudness of a coach is to deal, to adapt. For me, my approach is, okay, we need to deal, we need to adapt, we need to communicate, we need to adjust, and don't worry that at the end of the day I will enjoy almost double, because what I smile is that this 4-3-3 approach is also something that, from my own point of view, will help a lot. We just not only gambled, right, but we just was trying to find the best way to have our squad, and that's mainly the rotation we had on the team. I don't think that we changed that much on the rest of the scenario. Playing a single
Yeah.
striker was basically most of the times. Otherwise, was one striker and one behind as a second striker. So this was not very switch on our game. But yes, the orientation to press and to defend from this midfielder area and to communicate. And this was solved on that way. I think that in a small dose is good to challenge the players also to do that in a small. No need to be that difficult. We don't need to make hard for them in some aspects, but in a small dose is good to challenge, and also it's good to create a balance between they accept a challenge, but we need to keep very close on the game and not create a trouble to ourselves. Overall, is the history on the double pivot plus the number 10 or inverting the triangle.
Mm. So do you think when you shift to 4-3-3, it gave you better pressing patterns than 4-2-3-1? I mean, while communicating with the players?
Uh, we were a little more comfortable. Yes, we found slightly better capacity. I do think so. Also for the pressing situations, and a balance between the attack and defense that was proper. Yes, definitely yes. The, this is always, yeah, this is always that deep on my thoughts, because when you try those things also will be always related with the efficiency we had with the, of course, all these things change, you know what I mean, when you are
Yes.
fighting in all the areas properly, fighting as a positive part of those, when you are fighting, when you are finding the best of the ways, is so sensible. And if we are orientated, because your point is about the press, yes, of course, definitely is. Yeah, we had one more man to be closer, and we had a very good player as an individual also. This counts so important, because we was playing most of our games with Sudip on that position as a single midfielder,
Single
holding
pivot.
midfielder, and was working properly, and he did the job on the way we were pleased. So this helped.
Mhm. So one of the things I think, even when many have criticized, is Jhapa did not score enough goals, with the chances they had.
Hmm.
And the striker kept on playing, and everyone said, but when I looked at it, yes, of course, that was part missing. But where the job of striker was to just drop down and leave the space for the inverted wingers to attack. Those patterns were quite visible every time, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think many team did that. Most of the
Mm-hmm.
times the center forward will pin the center back. They will
Yes.
wait, then long ball switch to the wings, then cross, then okay, let's pray whatever happens. But
Yes.
when I see Zappa play, Canilas would drop very deep,
Mm.
and the inverted wingers had the chance to go or flick, then arrive late. So
Mm.
how would you say, was it a part of, or just I was just in illusion?
No, you are pretty right. But the first I need to tell on that is that, look, let me spend a second about Canilla's case or Canilla's performance. Why not? Of course, yes. It's very interesting to make that. Is any one of us, we are on that press, and on that sense that if it's not goes by him, we will suffer a lot. It's normal. It's a striker man of our team, and this will happen in any of the scenario. What is very interesting about him is the focus effect we created. So it's very related what you meaning about the spaces we will have when he do that kind of movements coming to the midfield line or just dropping, let's say. But okay, this is something that is great since the point of focus. So since the point of pressure, what will happen is always that this man will have a lot of players dragged, a lot of supporters paying attention, a lot of points of views focus on that. As far he won't do the main job, as far he is not able to do the main job
Score.
as a scorer, or as far this is not happening by any of the reasons that the game, unfortunately, by times give to us, my aim, my approach on that is, of course, he's grabbing a lot of attention, so let's use this attention. He's grabbing a lot of attention. Second lines can be much more active, or he's grabbing attention. Can play backwards the goal to have movements forwards. Yes, this was kind of pattern. We had very speedy players, as you remember, to do
Yeah,
that, to be able to create chances,
insights.
threats for exactly threats for the opposition and so on. So was one of the adjustments once we don't have that big amount of goals or the proper amount of goals to make us comfortable. Of course, the history is changed if we were regularly scoring, or and not only by him, because you can see that again it's a small amount of goals overall on the tournament. So yeah, we need to always find the new way to attack. If the first way to attack, the traditional way to attack, or the easiest way to attack is not giving us a result, and this was we
Mm.
were trying to make things happen.
I think if Onzon was fit enough with the space Canela's left and the space he would give for Onzon to come inside, I think it would maybe found more goals. But yeah, that wasn't the case because Onzon came and he scored. I think he came and he scored some headers after he came back from injury, but it wasn't the
Yes,
case. So,
yes, but how hard is to deal. I think this I was very, very repetitive in the press conference after the games, talking about how hard is to deal, for example, with the judgments of referees, right? But this only, just only, please, 1 second about this pattern. Canellas dropping, Anjan going. If we were doing that, imagine this is the game, right? And they are professionals, but they are the humans with a mindset that if I'm doing that and the linesman is making an offside on that or judging an offside on that, also it's not a successful action, right? So it's very
mhm.
hard to find a way, and
Yeah,
and then the next step is okay. So let's create shots. So let's create the crossing ways too. It's of course it's everything.
mhm.
It's an open game, and we need to be ready to everything. But this
Yeah,
was yeah, a difficulty
yeah. I
added
mean, the
because
exactly pattern we discussed did happen in the game, and it was the goal, but
yeah,
ref gave for the offside. Yeah,
yes, and
exactly similar.
and you should also guess that the anxiety factors. So, okay, a lot of times we were pointing on the consequence by the supporters. Oh, how disgusted they will be. How disgusted they will be. Finally, of course, yes, and it's the importance because we do that for all of them. But and the anxiety we have executing the action also is extremely higher, and the difficulty in this mood is also complicated. Why? Because look the factors, right? First of all, the score don't arrive naturally. We try things, coach, or we try things, Jhapa, and we don't arrive onto the goal. Okay, let's try plan B. We try plans, but the referees or the situations or the executions we have, I'm not just pointing on the referee. The edge line of the offside is not set enough. The timing of the action is not arriving. Double anxiety. Third anxiety, the results must to arrive because we are not winning, so we need to go for that. So the anxiety levels grows a lot, and the difficulties to keep on the competitions were difficult, were very, very, very high for us.
Mhm. So, I mean, as a coach, you have analyzed the game NSLs after every game, of course. So, when analyzing NSL, especially, let's say analyzing, what were the key points you would use as the framework? Like you will analyze build up. I don't think you will analyze build up of any team. And it's very rarely that happens here. But I think it helps in terms of pressing for you to put the number forward, who to press, whether really like to play that space passes. So how do you analyze the game? If, let's say generally, how you analyze the game?
Generally, any of the you mean the method to analyze any of the games in
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah. What's
yes,
your methodology to analyze the game?
yes. The first, and especially for NSL, I think that for me the job was triple because I'm not used. So the respect for me is, or I learn quick about the level itself, or I will fail. I cannot be here. And I need to be very, very clear with that. For me, was a big if or a big mm, point to discover and a big point to work. So all First is about volume. You understand volume. Look and look and relook and look the games one by one, just generally. Overviewing the 90 minutes of any of the teams and overviewing live and second time as a deeper part on the and discovering, let's say, discovering the 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 individualities, discovering the identities of all of the teams of the NSL. But this was the volume rising much more than in another scenario. When I am in a league that I'm very used to be, this volume is much more reduced, and I just need to go on to the immediate moment of any of the teams because this is normal. It's like the learning process of the league itself, the levels itself and the competitiveness itself of the league. Once I say that, on that context, I always like to be also very methodological on that. So as far we don't have big data
Data.
yeah, big data companies that, or at least I was very used to work in White Scout and Instat in other
Vice Scout.
tournaments,
Yeah.
but not on that one. So let's say that these tools I was exactly yeah, but these tools I was not ready to, or we were not ready to use in NSL as far they are not included these leagues games or this tournament on the system. So I need, let's say, to get out of the basic data that a company will give and provide to the tournaments, and then go on the ways that I always do, even if we have that supports for the analyze. I like to do by myself in a very, let's say, a very old school way, where I take my notebook, I take my normal pen, nothing related with the technology, and I go to the review of the game, and then make a normal review where I uh, put classified. Let's say I do a manual tagging, if you want to know, on terms of the ways the games are analyzed, a manual tagging where I have my own paper with where to, so high press, deep defense, and all these aspects, and generally, and game after game, I'm doing like that. Then from all that way to analyze the teams, we filter all these clips. We filter all these clips until have players presentation, because all the reasons, almost the reason, not all, but almost the reasons I love to do that is, of course, to reach the players, right? So we don't do this game analysis not only by ourselves. Yeah, at the end of the day, is the presentation that the players will have, and these presentations are very thin in terms of time and information, because there is not, under my perspective, and all what I learn always is that the players doesn't need to receive this big amount of informations, but yes, detailed and inspirational, basically inspirational amount of information. And this goes on presentations where, yes, need to appear all the style of the opposition. Most important is when you show that, give the players idea what's the meaning of that, is where, how we will play against this style. So usually I love to mix already, and especially in this tournament was much more needed to do a mix between how they play and what we will do, because as far we have very short time between games, we need to optimize the way we analyze, but also we prepare the games of the oppositions, right? So, and again, and in a presentation product where the players understand and the players not get bored. And this is seems unprofessional talk about, but the player shouldn't be bored. No, but the player is a human that if takes a meeting on a way that is long, extended, and over informated, will drop the interest, and of course the probably the consequence will be not execution or not understanding of a plan. And that's I do protect that on the, let's say, on the player side, where they like short, nice, and quick. And I have few experience of that. So I remember a player, not in this tournament, but far away in Finland, that he didn't speak any language apart of the Spanish, and he was like, I was assistant coach on that time, and he was, look, I understand the coach, but please, Oriol, give me only two details. And with that, I will, and he was performing very nice. What's the mean? I learned that, right? That so we need to, by times, learn a lot that from the players and even respect. They need to be disciplined, yes, but we need to be also very, if how to compare
Supportive.
to you. Yeah, because if you are in a geography class, you will not be talking about maths. Or if you do, you need to know. And here is if they are base football players. They are great football players. Also, in some scenarios, even if they are modern football players, and we love to do that. And I will always support the idea to play with the video and to make them easy. Of course, video before a whiteboard, yes. Of course, tactical pad before a whiteboard, yes. Of course, yes. But not be that fancy and that over dimension where
Over exaggerate, yeah.
yeah, we don't create a metaverse to make the players better. This is need to, from my side, need to be a very steady way where everything is understandable, simple, and easier to visualize to the player to then do a way. So this is so related with that analysis process that need to be, and it's long time. I spent most of the days on the room in the hotel, literally, and was lot of times was about that. Not only analyze the opposition, but how to play against this opposition, yes, or how to deal with this opposition, yes. This was part of the game.
Mm. So I think one of the game you played quite well in terms of pressing and everything. And I think even after a press conference, you said we did not wanted them to play was I think Lalitpur. I think after
Hmm.
Lalitpur, and you said that. So when you were preparing for the Lalitpur game, and you again say how they play, how we wanna play. Please explain me that process because I mean I like both teams, so I'm very eager to know how you see Lalitpur and how you planned against Lalitpur.
The first point is remember that the Lalipur game was also very in the competition. So was not one of the first, right? Was on that moment that we were on a wave, let's say, or we were on a moment that is win or die, or well, almost was like that. I know every game is approached like that in NSL, but really that one was that. There is a small tips, extra tips on that games that seems that shouldn't be like that, but football goes on that direction where motivations itself, inner motivations itself. I'm not sure how. I'm not talking only about me as coach, but I think that the meaning to play against Lalipur creates always like a booster of attentionality, you know, and uh, and creating that feeling. I don't guess that in fact the difference between teams was that big, honestly speaking. So that's a bit ridiculous that we take Lalipur as a bigger amongst. It's actually we were very on levels. Everyone, I mean, and that's beautiful. But why? Reason why maybe it's because that also that mindset where we go to that games when yeah slightly lower performing teams. I'm not talking about the qualities, I'm not talking about the clubs, I'm talking lower performing teams as we were in some aspect are very able to make a tight game. The intentions against them, of course, we go to Lalipur game with the the knowledge of this won't be the easy, or we cannot win by a white result. It's impossible. It's a nonsense if we approach the game as that. Uh, the only regret I have, because if you ask me about the preparation, remember that we had no time for that. So the preparation was just our performance growth, our ambition growth, our mentality is in a pressure that it's we need to do something right now, or at least we cannot lose any single point of this league because then we'll be done. So this was the preparation. I cannot go on. We make a formula to win them. No, because this you need a week. In a week, when you face Lalipur, you will have still much more options to have strategies. But in the ways we had the tournament, we cannot. Is For me, it's no sense that I'm telling you, yeah, we create a formula to do that. No, it's physically in time it's not easy enough, and again the players had a bigger problem that play in a style that was to recover, to be there, to be ready to fit, and to be. And, but was also again during the game, this moment, I remember that game as a big believer of well, this moment at some part of the game, Lollipop also should struggle, or they will not be composed. So the main factor is about how we pressed or how we cut, more than press, how we cut their ways to play. This was again, this was a positioning on the field and was a reference point for our team, right? We put a reference point. We want to cut this and this and this and that. We want to cut Jeff Balda. You remember the keeper? We want to cut Jeff Balda. We want to that the central backs. We
Ananda.
prefer. Exact. We prefer that Ananda is less time with the ball, but if he has the ball, we will do that. Of course, this is yet those small tips that we were cutting and reference points for the team that we were cutting for them. But I was very believer again. I was very believer on doing that. Not only by that we will win, but doing that plus the time factor plus they also are on the edge to be not secure as a top four team. We will have some space or some counter, or we will pick our opportunity. And you should believe on that. Under my perspective, you should believe on that, and you should pick that lucky, but it's created lucky to arrive for that. Unfortunately, yeah, you see, this is a equal game. It's not a winner. So we took as a not terrible result. Of course, it's decent, but was not a win also. So it was a bitter feeling at the end of the game, of course.
Mm. Yeah, because I mean, after that game in qualifiers, if you follow NSL till the finals, Lalitpur changed their approach and they play 4-4 to diamond. So they
Mhm.
changed 4-4 to diamond. So I had a conversation with Ian Glenn. So I
Yes.
asked him this question, and I want to ask you this question same. If you were facing that 4-4 to diamond, how would you have prepared with the Jhapa?
Look, I'm processing. You see that I stop on 10
Yeah,
seconds. I'm
yeah,
and
yeah,
on
it's
10
fine. Yeah,
seconds.
I like.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was putting a whiteboard on my brain right now,
Yeah.
but also I'm trying to be on that because my heart goes to you to answer. I should prepare pretty similar, and maybe I do this. Well, this the consequence on that are because just guessing. Let me answer you something about that. Bellingham is playing in Madrid in a 4-4-2 diamond. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we discuss on that, or it's not a clear diamond what Ancelotti do, but
Yeah,
let's say
but
that they
yeah,
have
yeah, it's
two
playing a forward diamond. Yeah.
strikers. Yeah. Um, I remember to analyze or to play against teams that the diamond create a big change on their way to play, a big change. So the difference between play flat 4-4-2 or diamond shape, or and then create a big difference. Then there is very theoretical answers on that, where usually you should care a lot on the rotation balls of the opposition. You should care on the transitional way to play. You should deal a lot on the number 10 position. That's why I go to the Bellingham case, right? You should pay a lot of attention on this space, which usually will be the cleverness on the field. And
Like
actually,
more balls to the fullback, more ball to the fullback. So there is space. There's just not
yes,
two pressing up top.
yes, it's common on that, but also I just checked that one of the points to be a little more performing on that situation is to have a change the not the shapes, but change the capacity, play with the capacity of the team. So instead of move your players in a different shape, create a different kind of movements or go on different kind of areas, just the capacity of the team itself be a slightly different. So isolate one player might work, isolate players might work, but then go the player, the team a little more inside together also might work to create, to not have overloads on that. So it's kind of tough answer to have the solution, because the scenario it's in the moment where you can do that. That's why I'm telling you I'm not that big fan to is a change on that, because I don't feel like there should be changed that much things on that. But this, let me go again to the Real Madrid case.
Yeah.
When they play with the Bellingham, what will happen if Bellingham is change of that shape?
Mm.
Is a I redo the question because I'm not sure if you have the answer. What will happen if Bellingham don't plays on that position in Real Madrid and is going on another offensive area? Will this Madrid has the same threat, or will they
Yeah, no.
continue? You have a straight answer also. Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, one of the thing I really believe is sometimes, I mean, I have said so many times to so many people, coaches are overrated. I have said so many times. The way coaches are praised for the things
Hmm.
isn't all about coach. And sometimes for what coaches are ridiculed, it isn't in coach's hands, you know. And in
Yeah.
that topic, if anybody plays the same role as Bellingham, let's say Cruz plays as the number 10 for the Real Madrid right now in the
Yeah.
diamond,
Uh,
they won't perform in the same way. And
hmm.
if Bellingham shift to that Cruz role, he will have hard time capitalizing on that because Cruz controls the tempo of Real Madrid. He's
Yeah.
the main anchor for them. So of course that will of course will change. But I'm saying in with Lalitpur they like to press up and have those things,
Hmm.
and they were very heavy on second balls. Like they will always win the second balls, go for it. Kind of they wanted to play the Liverpool way,
Yeah.
vibes up the games too, and the ambience they created. So in that way, I wanted to ask because when I watched them play, I felt like there is a solution. There is a solution, and I really liked what you said. Like no team has this, and very honestly, I never liked that too. Like when someone feels like they are more superior, come on, I get really angry about it. Like, come on,
Change that ways. Yeah. Well,
yeah, yeah,
kind
I
of.
get very angry about it.
I see.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, you have spent enough time in no, I don't think it's enough to be very honest. It's very less, but I think you have known people of Nepal. You know the how people think, what's mentality. You have showed it's very welcoming, warm and welcoming, and you have seen the fans and everything. And this is the question I really want to know. And it is not offensive questions. It's just how you spend your time and see it. Do you feel Nepal is an footballing nation in terms of footballing culture wise and that being that root, or uh, it's like the cover is footballing but body inside isn't. How you see it?
Well, I think it's football nation. Yes, I do think so. Because as far I'm telling you the reason why, as far uh, this sport, it's all about to be played around. It's easy. Even in Tuvalu, Tuvalu, one of the smaller islands and federations, even non-official
Yeah,
by FIFA, they will have any football association or organization trying to roll it, and somehow there will be people that will aim to play and to follow that sport. So the principle of a sport is to have the option to be there implemented. I won't compare with the cricket fan base if it's about the fans, because I think that you are now orientating me on that for the
no,
fans.
no, no. What I meant to say is not fans. I mean, let's say Spain is footballing nations, Germany is, England is, and
Yes, yes,
there
yes.
are countries which are smaller, but they have that culture. I mean, come on, Norway.
Yes,
It's not a
yes.
big nation, but you see, there is kind. Sweden,
Mhm.
the kind of policy
Yes.
Sweden has one
Mhm.
and there are New Zealand. I
Yeah.
mean, this Asian Cup, Australia,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I
Nepal
get.
has more population than Australia. You know,
Hmm.
so
Yes.
in that terms, what I wanted to say is we portray as ourselves as a footballing nation, but we don't work on it. Did you feel
Yes.
the same thing?
Yeah, I get your point on that, but I think that look, that's the sensibility of that point might be very related with a lot of other aspects around. All right, or the moment of the country itself, and then for that situation, for that big matter, the moment of the country itself, I cannot state the way it need to be changed. Of course not. So for the football, probably goes in a pretty similarity or parallel path in terms of what to do. So this is a more a questioning point: is what to do to arrive to be a football culture, a football history culture, because also your point is related with the history. You know, all what you
Hmm.
mentioned about the other countries is the steady way, the way they found any of the football cultures or football countries has or success or stability. But one of those one where this is so related with the very steady way in the time and very stable way on the time to create something. All right, and this can be financial, this can be investment side, this can be
Infrastructure.
attached by the government, this can be related with some countries. You know that also some countries were boosting football by only a sentence of a prime minister. Only a sentence create on some countries a boost in football.
Uzbekistan did the same.
Hmm.
Uzbekistan PCR did the same.
Yes, and then is the responsibilities don't goes on that. The responsibilities to be a nation that football is on the blood and creates that hope and create that joy are those countries that maybe are on time much more stable, on time, just on time, like don't have history with the football is stopped or break by several reasons. Also, there is factors that are uncontrollable, and then is respectful. You know, there is uncontrollable factors that creates you a big challenge to be competitive among the others. Bigger problem, under my perspective, and of course as a foreigner, bigger problem of football culture, such mainly in Nepal now suffering, is a lot of times the frustration of be comparing. So what happens in growth? What happens in growth is that when you feel very easy to follow by media, to follow by any channel, other football cultures, mm, you will raise criticism to yours, maybe with reasons. Why not? But
Yeah.
there will be not an environment. There will be not an environment to create that self history or
You
that
mean
self.
healthy? You mean healthy? There won't be healthy conversations.
Hmm. Then, but you know, then what about I'm giving solutions for that because I don't want to
Yeah.
compare, but I don't want to compare, but also, and I say also here in Cambodia, somehow there is this feeling of frustration, and you know the investment side are much higher that in Nepal in this moment. There is a lot of
Yeah.
investors that not only privately in football clubs, but also maybe overall in the infrastructure in the in the country. But when you compare it with the others, you will maybe create a big mistake on that. And what I suggest is, what about if we compete each other much more? What about if we really focus in ourselves? What about, and that's for example in NSL, not to create a marketing brand for help them. No, I'm telling as a intensity reality we were there, but of course if you are only 5 weeks on that, you won't create any development, none at all. But this self competitivity where only we have one focus on us, only win, then this creates why really is better. Think on the players again. I go like this permanent feeling I have that the main part to grow a football is when your players are really taking a next level. But how we do that? So if you have financial resources, maybe you will send abroad and you will be literally rolling your national squads and your teams and your all around training camps and all around different abroad competitions or experiences. But otherwise, if not, my solution or my suggestion that I'm nowadays giving after few times looking on that is, so then if not, create a big competitivity inside, create something where the players will be permanently fighting, and because it's the way where the player will, and this is created by the competition systems, and this is created by the local competition systems established by long time. If you do that, most likely the followers, the let's say the supporters will create this fellowship of, I wanna
Hmm.
follow my team, or I wanna follow my friend, or I wanna follow my player. And then if it's good branded, if it's good marketing follow, or if it's good modern way to be football visualized, probably you will arrive to a better situation, as you say, football. I don't know how to mention that, but yeah, better steady football culture or a stronger football culture and so on. Football nation, yes.
Now, after finishing NSLs, and when you see things of Zappa, and if you could have changed anything that happened in Zappa, what are your learnings? Like even tactically things what going went, and many things, like when you have sit down right now, what are your thoughts about your time here?
Great, great. I think that I feel I feel that responsible that in a club that we were in the first edition. I know that Japa had much more background in terms of preparation. That's true, but the frustrated second edition of NSL last year made no chance to be there, right? So there's no chance to show. There's no other way to show who Japa is or how Japa is that this season. So that responsibility afterwards of the tournament makes me feel great. Not by the result, I repeat, not by the result, but by the all the parcours, all the way that we were on the competition. Imagine the regret is, as is short, we have only one ballot, one wallet to, okay, be there and still be more visible and still be more famous and still brand more the dimension of Japan. On that we can regret. Yes, I know, but on our own reality, I think there is those identities that were established and those signals that if the memory, if the memory, not of football, but if the memory of the continuity, if the memory of, okay, from that we go ahead, from that we continue, from that we have something more, then it's will be an amazing continuity. But that is so related with my feelings, you ask me, because my feelings are great because I have that hope. I have that hope that what we did is subject to something bigger and something stable and something profitable for the upcoming moments of Nepalese football and for Jhapa FC and for Jhapa territory. So I'm so hopeful that there will be much more continuity from that experience we had. And overall, as a person, also I felt very very good, because as a stranger, as a foreigner, as a person, let's say alone, in an environment that you can fail as human, because at the end of the day, it's hard to be on the conditions of NSL. Because it's hard conditions. NSL itself is hard, short time, but deep time, intense time. So you need to, and overall, I can judge all these moments as a very, very good because yeah, you are on to some target. You are in a place where in a environment where the reason that to be the first edition for Japa is very important to have some positive impact, and positive results. And this is beautiful. Can arrive to the best result ever or not, but this is beautiful to be involved with, and that's why my own feeling is toughness was there, difficulties was there, ambitions to be better was there, but also the joy of, well, we did many good things also, and was hopefully great for create continuity for that club.
And on football side, in maybe in terms of team shape or approach, everything, anything there is like you feel okay, maybe if I had approached this way, it would have been different? Or in those time, in those thoughts, anything about it?
No, I think that there's a lot of. I mean, if the point is what should be done better, I am on that mentality of what can be better for this from this stage. No, I don't just self judging or self punishing the ways we did, but yes, from what we did, I think- yeah, exactly yes, what you mentioned from what we did, what can be better from that is of course, and this hope is very beautiful. Such recruitment side, honestly, recruitment side can be nailed, but no by throwing responsibilities for this is underperforming or this is bad. No, more about optimizing things, more about
Recruitment side.
yeah, recruitment side slightly nailing some of the members, even positions, ways to be organized on that. Um, Logistically also, of course, logistically what can be better in our daily basis, because we'll also be very aligned for the results of the team. So how logistically we can deal still better, and this is by times time schedules, but also can be facilities, also can be ways to be located on the city in Kathmandu, or potential ways to be different, interacting with other teams, blah blah blah. So there is a lot of things to have an improvement from the base we had, and that's why I'm grateful where the base we had. It's like a base, it's like a momentum that we created. That's obvious, but this kind of thoughts, I think, are regardless the results we had as a team. What to do better. Had a little more composed, human. Even it was great. There's no regrets, but a little more composed group in nailing the group in another in some of the areas. Yeah, okay. It's where my my thoughts goes. Tactically speaking, yeah, probably has still another solution to be playing. Uh,
Maybe
extra
early 4-3-3.
forever, right? Yeah, but this goes onto that moment that can be, but always will be depending on the result. That's my point. That's why I'm very skeptical to tell you yes, because it's depending on the result. It's very depending. And deep
Yeah.
inside me, it's like it's unfortunately this can be changed or can be modified, but won't be the bigger factor probably.
I mean, this goes back to, I mean, let's just, for example, let's take Pep. Pep used to play this beautiful type of football that people say. I don't really like those kind of footballs, to be very honest. I like Manchester City when it was 17-18 season.
Mm,
They have Leroy Sané, Sterling, Aguero. I
mm.
like that football. David Silva. I like that. Now it's too much calculated. I feel like it's like, in mathematics, there is quadratic equations. So it's just too much of the. I enjoyed Arsenal last season. I
Yes.
like Liverpool this season, although I am Manchester United fan, which is sad part in itself. So Pep played quite beautifully. Let's say, as people say, beautifully played beautifully, and no UCL. Again, nice football, everything, no UCL. Now he brings Haaland up top, De Bruyne to create the cross, and cross he finishes. You
Yeah.
know, this is what it gives them trophy. So exactly what you said. If you win, everything you touch is gold.
Yes, I think he's showing. Pep's showing something. I'm not sure if he's respectful or not, but it's something where I can play whatever, or I will do whatever. Even when you see that beginning of the season where they were off the ball so many times, very structured as a 4-4-2 shape, and you say, but really is this Pep? But it's like yeah, very. I think the message on there, my opinion is the message on there. After all, is now is anything can be played, everything will be done, and yeah, at the end of the day, they are in a in a reality. They are in a reality that probably we are very hard to find ways to be approached there. And it's yeah, I
It's
agree with that.
it's a bit let's say fun question. So
Hmm.
if you add Manchester City squad in Premier League, let's say you are managing Manchester City, you have this Man City squad. Where do you think you would finish in Premier League? Yes.
Make me smile. No, no. Look, I hope this is so related also with the ways they are settled as clubs, not only for Pep side that of course sure has the main of the point like responsibility and identity side and so on, but you can see that there these clubs are dimension where every player has three coaches around and at least and the life daily life goes in a, as I'm telling you, in a page of the football where it's very difficult for fine comparing to be very comparing with our way or humble way to approach football. And I'm really thinking that a lot of times on that you put my question like that, but if I need to answer on that, I think if I am on that squad, I want to be much more as Ancelotti is. I heard a sentence of Ancelotti last week. I'm not sure if this is in a lot of social media or like that, but they were asking him about how he approached the players, and he was talking about he loved to say that he is not a coach, he is a person. Coach is his job, right? So and then when Pep was in Barcelona, to motivate those Messi and all these ones that at the end of the day they were very stable on football, very performant, but maybe they start to struggle on their personalities. Pep decides to bring onto his teams not only psychologists, but brings onto his teams very human related histories, even including hikers that was having accidents in high altitude with amputated fingers, to talk about the fort. They were visiting very sick people around, and I think somehow Pep wanted to reach when this happened with Messi and all these players, that was the arrogant side was arriving to top levels. Also, as their performance, they prefer to create a human, yeah, human impact on that. And if one day I have the chance not to be in the city dressing room, I don't think that this is reachable or an ambition that I should take. But if I am in a dressing room with full of personalities, more full of personalities is, more full of egos is, more human I will take. So and how I will reach that, uh, by the reason that by the reason that but by the same reason that I can be in Nepal, by the same reason that I'm taking that interview or podcast or time together with you from Cambodia. I have a comfort zone. I can go back to Spain and live this Spanish style life, or be on the line of the normal side of people. But uh, the reason why will be that, again, the reason why is to touch the player more by human side. And last week was very fruitful to hear that small. Article of or check that from Ancelotti. First is the person, so he like to face a person in front and talk as a person. So I think it's the best way you can make them perform. And if this happens in the city, more than the tactics, maybe will be more this to reach people and to try to, from the people side, try to convince them to do something. Because tactically speaking, you will be supported, and also by these players, you will be also mainly executable all the ways you will want to play.
So
But to
this means you
convince,
like more than Pep.
yes, might be a mixed point, a middle point. Let's say a middle point is a
Ah,
beautiful.
that's quite a statement coming from the Catalan. Catalan, from the Catalan saying that if it was Mourinho, I'm
Eh,
more.
No,
I mean,
nothing,
and
no, no, nothing wrong. They are actors also. Let
yeah,
me say,
yeah, no, no, I'm just saying
they are
people's
playing
perception of it.
player. They are they very role play persons, and I think also very important to keep yourself and this those. It's beautiful to see those personalities. What you know, if we talk about that now, there is coaches like Xavi that they are in a trouble, but Xavi is in a trouble more because of the sentence as coach he's saying more than the person is behind him. And now I see that again. The actor is eating the real person behind, or this need to be. I think we need to be controlling our job also. If you are pure on that, if you are yourself, also more welcome, generally speaking.
So, I mean, we came to the PEP, and so this is my curiosity as a maybe UEFA license and all those things. So everybody studies the same syllabus, because the FA does it. So what do you think, and why you have what you have observed that some goes to become the top, you know, and some remain the same. It's more like a timing, or it's more like they both have the same knowledge of education. How have you seen these things?
Yes, but you mean how to success as or how to reach better positions after your licensing or comparing?
The FA conducts the course, and everybody
Yes,
does same course.
yes, yes,
What
yes.
what do you think maybe the X factor that some become the great they are? Like, let's say Pep, Mourinho,
Mhm.
they started with the Bengal in the same era, and what might be from what you have observed from outside and what you have seen around the coaches.
Yes, I get that, but that's very very aligned one more time with the rest of status on the world. How to be successful in your job? There is parts, and there is how to say, there is factors that depends on the professional. There is success way to arrive from yourself, but there is most of the times also factors related with your status. So some of the successful coaches also had a background, is a background behind, or is a support behind the coaches, and I think also on that at the end of the day is a pyramid, right? It's a system that is done by a pyramid where the reality is that not everyone has the same chances to succeed, honestly. And that's this kind of sentence. You put me a question before where if you are in city, how you play, or if you are in city, how you do. And then my opposite question is if Jupp Heynckes, if Ancelotti it comes to NSL, what will happen? Right.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
this seems an arrogant quote, and for me, no, because I
I mean,
accept it.
it
Yeah.
isn't because Ancelotti came to Everton and finished eighth. You know,
Hmm.
he
Yeah.
was labeled as a finished, and he wins to Real Madrid and wins the UCL. So
Yes,
yeah,
indeed. They are in a kind of very very winning environment, and they have projects. Most of those ones that are permanently winning, uh, having having the right to choose, or having the right to be in projects that somehow has very potential, very real real chances to be successful, and that means that the rest not. Look, yeah, I go again for that. If some of I look a lot La Liga, right? Of course, some of La Liga coaches are admirable. Are admirable. I look them and I say, but this is amazing, and they are very famous. Anyway, they are very famous, but they won't have any probably chance. Some of them to be in a top four team, even in La Liga. I'm not talking about abroad. I'm not talking about to go to Premier. Not to how Pep Guardiola, how Pep is able to choose his own lifestyle. That now I want to be living in New York for 3 years. I want to come back to this part. How they have the right to do that before also or in between they win champions. I want to be now in Paris because my wife loves New York. So I think the status plays a lot, and I'm not. like putting down that way or talking about the power as a something negative. Just they have the right or they have the choose to do that. And the beautiful on that is the rest of them or the rest of us how we are continuing on our. So this is this passion factor or this beautiful passion factor. And yeah, I think also this is very beautiful in football that you have a lot of subdivisions, intermediate levels, lower levels. Any of the levels can be playable, and as far there is a dignity there will be also, I think, very beautiful for anyone in football interested. So
You have touched nicely and nicely on coaching aspirations. So, why did you started coaching? What is your aspirations? What drives you for do what you do?
uh, the first is of course a love for that sport. Uh, Honestly speaking, even as a player, always I was playing very lower divisions or lower, not terrible, but lower divisions, not reaching this higher part of the pyramid, even in youth stages. And I always had the feeling this world, this life, sports life is very complicated. It's a lot of things that makes disrupt. So I was a player with being benched many times, and the reasons by times was my player in front was elder, and other ones coach itself was closer to the relations, and it's just I learned from the very beginning. I learned that this is kind of very complicated. Area or sector on the world, but most likely it should be as another jobs maybe. Then I turned the page to try to learn in university degrees or get out of football, and every time I was get out of football, the DNA, the ambition, the motivation, or even the heart was going back to football always. Injuries was there. I on the page of player. Injuries was there, so disgusting, but never being able to hate football. Never. So never being able to hate football, and then you step on the groups of people. You step on the youth groups of people. So you are mixing between play footballs in afternoons and then have a group of 14-year-old boys there, and that was my very beginnings, right? So still on the beginning of the process or the beginning of my football career was very open, so I don't know if this will take me somewhere or not. But what happens is one more time, and maybe it's the same as a supporter or a fan of football. Every day I cannot forget football. Every day I cannot forget football. Every day I go back, my brain turns back to football. So as far I was in teams, as far I started with youth teams, I was very orientated to my team always. Very focused to my team. Creating that troubles, family troubles, such I remember in very youth time, even late teenager or 18-year-old Oriol, always football, always. And let's say that creates that drug effect, if you know what I mean, or that absolutely addiction to your activity. Since the moment where the other ways to be professional on my life was also very terrible. Like I was working for an airliner. I did a course to be grounded, not as a pilot, grounded, but I working for an airliner, and when I am there, I start to see the difficulty also itself, but was not by the job. Maybe also in my country at that time was a bit hopeless to be growing and having a special or a beautiful or a ambitious life. And then one more time coming back to the love to football. You do your football degrees, you do your studies, and you decide somehow at some point that you want to full focus on that. So from half-time jobs, if you know what I mean, from half-time jobs on my early stages to the challenge or the chance that someone puts to you, and I had a very good opportunity one day, and then from one moment that you can step in full-time position. Trying to have a continuity, and let's say that that created for me my football career first in Europe, then thinking on what about if I am a head coach, but in Europe I had that or I have still now maybe that big wall in front of me that is difficult to be a head coach, and but opening these doors for ASEAN markets. And also I need to say you behind a sense, not behind a sense, but parallel to the parallel to the reason to be in football as professional is what football gave to me on that time. So a part of knowledge, I start to learn languages. A part of learn languages, I start to love to manage people or to give histories to people, and in addition to travel, which is one of my also favorite activities as a, I don't want to say as a leisure, just as a human, because why need to be leisure to travel? No, travel is a human spirit, right? And I love to travel, to discover, to be new, to be a newcomer. And this was also a later factor to be football coach. Later was not the beginning, but was later, right? And every time, let's say that every time I'm liking more. Every time I'm liking more what I'm doing now in NSL is one of the very first times I feel a pressure. So, oh, coach, and before 5 years in Cambodia, was you under pressure? Yes, not. And let's say that was different. But the pressure factor, the beautiful pressure, the beauty of the pressure was reaching in Nepal, because still I'm not having that big amount of years as a head coach. Yes, as a football professional in several areas, but as a head coach, I'm really trying to establish myself there, and it's my second professional squad or professional quad activity after Cambodian league. So again, this is still on this process of going and going and having this continuity. And it's a job actually, to be the football coach or to be a coach is a job that is so interesting because we are depending on results, but also so good because we can show ourselves and then show the ways to manage, also the different ways to manage, to reach performances by different ways. There will be very tactical coaches, very close coaches, very flexible. So, and all these factors I'm liking, and with ambition to keep growing. Yeah, definitely yes. Having having love to be more and better, of course.
Uh, did you travel anywhere when you were in Nepal?
Yes, yes, yes. So, but this was beforehand. Look, my places that I discovered with Jhapa, we traveled to Birgang. So that was before NSL, in a
Uh,
very early stage, of the preparation, back in November or even end of October maybe, and was to play a Gold Cup. So the activity itself was not great because we spent a lot of trouble to not to play too much games. But okay, this is the one of the consequence or one of the situations that you face in these kind of competitions in Gold Cups. But yeah, then I was in Birgang. Was a very long road through some of the mountains. I don't know the mountains name area, but was long trip where I can learn also there, or I can see the difficulties logistically. Of course, you have a plane, but maybe with a team or a half squad, we choose another way to go. And then we hadn't any trip in meanwhile, of course, of NSL. But myself, when we once we finish NSL, I cannot resist visit parts of the country. So in my bucket list before, this very typical one, I know it, but in my bucket list was to go to Lukla. I'm kind of aviation lover, kind of, not a freak one, but as far I like to travel, I like to know about the airports and planes and all these things. So I flew to Lukla and I spent 3 days, in 4 days in the area. I reached what's the name of this town before the Everest base camp?
Solo Combo.
No, well,
Solo Combo, I think.
yeah, it's about 20 kilometers before the base camp. Uh, I was really enjoying all the area, and also after the NSL took a lot of sense because I was alone there hiking in a way where I was very able to think in everything on and off the field, and I was very able to reflect all my mental tiredness, but positively. One, nothing was terrible; it was very beautiful, and in addition, I love to visit that areas. I hiked all around other countries, so it was very nice scenarios and landscapes. Namche, sorry, now I remember Namche.
Nancy Bazaar.
Yeah, I reached Namche, and then I went to Pokhara after this hiking on this area. So yeah, Pokhara also just around Pokhara, few of the places, and of course Nepal is. I have seen that there is too many corners, places and small places to under my love to visit places that I still need to go, and I have in mind to discover more of Nepal, of course.
So that means you are coming for next season.
That means that I'm definitely coming. So I'm not sure.
Ah,
Now we talk serious. I'm not sure for the next season, but I even don't know if is granted that next season will happen. So
ah.
maybe this is something also that creates very difficult feelings, not only for the professional but also for the supporters, where there's no continuity. And I know it's very difficult, right? But if you want die-hard fans, you need die-hard situations like continuity and continuity and continuity. I'm very keen to be in a moment, in a scenario, or in an activity comprising Nepalese football, because I really enjoy it and I really think that can suit my football continuity, if you know what I mean. And but once say that, I'm that open-minded. Same, I landed in Nepal. Same, because I cannot tell you, oh no, I came Nepal because it's my priority number one on the list. No, I came Nepal because I'm very open-minded on terms of where, how, and what to take. Also, the project itself, very challenging project sometimes, very challenging project where and Japa was a challenging project, maybe yes, because was blind for me, not by the project itself, but was blind to take a brave decision to, hey, let's go there and see what will happen, right? So again, this is I'm keen of these situations, and I am very ready, let's say, to see if this will happen. But otherwise, if not, I will visit. I have some staff that now is friend, even brother, people around me after this deep, intense month. That is, I will visit you. That's definitely, I will
Okay,
do that.
okay. We can talk more tactics then.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So you have managed quite young squad. I mean, young players. Let's say there were few young players in that squad. So overall, how do you rate Nepali young players? Like, do you feel like okay, if there is more clarity for them, they can go even higher? Not just playing in Nepal, maybe going to Malaysia, Indonesia, those leagues, playing there.
Yes, yes. I need to be very careful with the answer, not by hide things, but the point of the give a positive answer on that, on the expectations of them, is the expectation itself on the situation. The players I faced, the players I was with, I really liked. I'm honestly telling you why, because I have this pattern to compare very quick, compare with Southeast Asian young players, to compare with European young players. Remember that my 2023 season or 2023 year, I had the beautiful chance to work in Norway with very young squad also. So my pattern itself, it's okay. I compare quick my young player in Norway, the young players of Cambodia that I know, and young players of Nepal. So once say that, this pattern,
What difference did you find in those three young players, young
uh,
teams? I mean,
um, the yes, I found, but not difference, but also coincidence. The coincidence is level wise can be similar. I'm telling you, level wise can be similar. I don't want to go that way where no, because they was not training before, these players are less. No, that's something that uh, I'm very optimistical that the level of the players are not that far. Obviously, what usually is far is the readiness to be in competitive scenarios, the readiness of that, and the readiness to be a good professional, even if they are young, in front of tough squads. So, what happens if we put one of my players on a ACL champion squad? Any of the clubs. I don't know. You want to put South Korea or you want to put Malaysia? All right, let's put him there. The bigger challenge he has is not how he cross. It's not how he cross. Maybe the cross will be appealed and will be corrected and will be improved by a coach. But the main challenge this person will have is how he will go walk onto the field. How will be the feelings compared with a player that arrived with a Lamborghini to the stadium? And that's one more time. Yeah, that's one more. And maybe in the first day that's not let me explain, let me make you understand what's
I
the step
really got your point. I really enjoyed that part about Lamborghini.
what happens if you tomorrow go to work to a Google enterprise on a 100 store building. Mm, then it's the capacity of all those guys, the capacity to have the readiness to have the new impact. For example, the typical things that makes them not success. If one day happens, they can perform. Can they perform in Malaysia? Yes. But what happens once they go? What's the fear of a sports director of Malaysia, even of Cambodia? Yeah, but what happens if they come and they don't adapt? If we're doing that with European players coming to Nepal, what will happen when a Nepalese player is coming to Malaysia Super League? So maybe we need to create that readiness, not only field dreams. I'm tired about that. I'm a bit because I have seen that all over around, and it's very common to see that, right? People that I have the dream, I want to go, I want the preparation itself, the readiness for that. By times, is not only by the skills of the players, and which can be different. I repeat, but not that much. All right, not that much, because if not. Uh, Now I'm looking these World Cup qualifiers in Qatar, a lot of games. Yesterday, neighbor country here of Cambodia, Thailand, drawing 0-0 late night against South Arabia. And then South Arabia maybe somehow is able to play against a big country in Europe in a clash, right? So don't create that limit. So the reality is that anyone can play against anyone. And then the individuals are, every individual has the right to be close enough to another better player or another player of a better country. But the point is, what's the meaning of a profession? What's the meaning of a job in football? What's the meaning of a young player be ready to perform, really to perform outside, or to make a career outside? What can they have better, or what can they make to improve? Is this let's say the all the adjustments they have in hand. All the adjustments they have in hand. The first one, the self habits, the own discipline. But I need to tell you, because usually we put the general behavior in front of individuals. So generally speaking, the typical sentence is from a foreigner: "Oh, very lazy. Oh, very undisciplined. Oh, very soft-minded." But forget that, because this is generally speaking, and this is rubbish. You need to go off. This individual has the toughest mindset of the of the town. This individual has the toughest potential of the town. This individual, and also a point that need to be very clear to improve, a part of this self discipline, self habit, self ambition, self mindset. A part of all of these things is as I did as a coach, because I started without any knowledge of languages, any knowledge. I was not even able to speak English by Spanish education. I was just speaking English by football reasons. So I should go on to this line that any youngster, and it seems very political way to explain, because I want them good boys. No, it's because they need to be ready. If they want to be in Malaysia, they need to minimum speak English, minimum. And maybe you have five players wondering to be and perform a professional career abroad, or in not abroad by going and not returning, but you mean You understand what I mean by having a
Yes.
broad stance and being just a normal, good professional football player. Normal. Don't create that border between if it's from a country or other. Just having that chances, then you need to be ready on that. Then you need to step on that. This self preparation on this, because also another aspect. And about the tactical understandings and all these things. Yeah, I think that I think it's not that difficult as a player point of view, if you know what I mean. So, of course, they need the ability to learn and the ability to understand how to play. So, as far they have this base, okay, I understand as a player that what the meaning of defend, attack, transition. I go like to make them easy. You understand what I mean? So it's not that very difficult. The difficult is that Sterling permanently create a pressure, but is look that this again is going onto the fitness side or going onto the attitude side. That I will do something repeatedly, continuously, and always during a unity of game. So if they are that tough, let's say, if they are that consistent, any of those lads, any, because again, any is not all of the squad, but any of those lads with the potential of even the media now is pointing on some of the men, right? This young is can be a jewel. This is a very potential player. We had nice defenders. We had a promising fullback, and I do love them. But you see that also I respect them, not naming, because still they are young to be named. No,
Yeah.
understand me. Also, we create a effect by very quick, very quick. Have the rush to create an idol or a
Right.
very quick. Yes, no, not like that. It's a self rule I have. I don't name them, and I
Yeah.
love them, and I love them. And if they see this podcast, they will say, "Please, coach, name myself." No, it's about it's about how the young generations have all the chances to, and maybe more opportunities. At the end of the day, they will have more opportunities. Those Nepalese players that on the past, and the reason is not because they are better. The reason is because you see that now all of a sudden there is much more foreigners surrounding, involved, or as a coaches also being part of the Nepalese football culture. And yeah, again, imagine that. I know that now it's a big, like a big expectation if I say that, but at the end of the day, I am a worker that, from the impression of some of those players, primary from Jhapa, but of course any of the players I've seen in the Nepalese scenario, not as a security but as a background of myself. Some of those players, of course, I have that impression and being impressed to, yeah, I can work with them because I'm working with other ones also, and I'm making that kind of um, mixing, comparing, and understanding that, yeah, is that reachable. So it's telling you a person that used to work in another environment. So that's why I don't wanna only create expectation, but also be very honest and approach it that cannot tell a no, like no, it's far away, oh, it's impossible. No, it's possible. It's of course possible.
So, I mean, we have talked for almost 2 hours now.
Mm.
So, I find you very philosophical. You know, the way you see life, I find is very philosophical. If you
Mm.
had to tell some books or some documentaries or anything that you like the most, maybe the movie that's your favorites, can you tell them? Few recommendations?
No, movies I look a lot. If I'm honest, Netflix helps us. I'm not sure if Netflix is open in Nepal. Is it? You have
No,
Netflix?
I mean, yeah, it is. You have dollar card, yeah, now it is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, to be inspired by not inner motivations, but to be inspired by others or by books is beautiful. By To inspire and to learn by third parties is very beautiful. So I can, of course, yes. Any of the productions, movies that are related with all the exigence that anything can be inspired, by. But I won't name you because on movies I'm look a lot, but I'm looking just not to be inspired, to be fair. And now there is a lot of movies in cinemas that are nice. One Spanish one, La Sociedad de las Nieves. This is called Snow Society, maybe, and it's Oscar nominated. That is a
There
team.
is Spanish movie, I think, Platform. Have you watched it? Platform.
Yeah, I think so. And is the related with a rugby team that was crashing the plane on the Andes, that is the big mountains in Chile, and it's about survival, and it's something that is about survive, and always, of course, this kind of survival skills are very motivational and inspirational, especially for young generations, and especially maybe in Nepal. But let me tell you, and about read generally, I'm reading a book now that the person that the writer of the book, uh, let's say that said me a sentence. I know him personally, and said me a sentence that I like is, it doesn't matter what shit you read, but read. You know? And me personally, I'm not used to read. I need to tell you, I'm not used to take every single night a book, but now I'm reading that one, and I am finding that positive because it's like this. Again, this habit where now no one is taking, or most of the generations are not taking, and especially doing with no reason. That's the most beautiful. Do by no reason. Do with no impose by a teacher. Do by no impose by a coach that telling you read this book because this book is about football and tactics or football and inspiring.
Mm.
Just by themselves, by whatever that can, but a little bit out of your frame, because no one will read because it's boring. But do it. And this writer, that the name of the book is Pedagogy. Anyway, it's not about pedagogy, the book, but it's pedagogy, and is any shit you read, but read. So I recommend that anything you want, but read something will be nice. And finally, about that, inspirations. Remember, inspirations, to be inspired. This is important. How to be inspired for those young lads. To be inspired, mixing that can be easily, because at the end of the day, a movie or a book will be easy, and actually it's almost free. I push them. I push any young to be inspired in a way that also makes them actors. This means, for example, one more time, travel. Travel, and this now is more common. You can see how many solo travelers by times are motorbike riders. This is like a mode, one do and everyone do. How many bloggers in potential we have in the country by going? It's normal. It's very beautiful. It's not. I'm
Yes.
not joking. It's
Yes.
it's it's very.
Yes.
But what's the meaning of that? And also, I'm talking about my self experience is when you do this kind of or travels or getting out of your frame, just isolate of yourself. The meaning of travel is not to do a leisure trip or to invest thousands of dollars to making trips like a rich person. No, but get out of your zones, move, discover, maybe even by times alone, or maybe even in an environment where it's not that always the same one, and so on. And this usually have a positive impact. And I'm going back to football, of course, to football, because creates, honestly, creates what is much also supporting football side, that is the personality. If everyone create his own personality on that scenarios, also creates readiness or creates preparation for the future. So that's my recommendation basically for that.
Thank you so much for doing this, Coach. I really enjoyed the conversation, and you have touched on either even philosophy part and how you see life generally, your hobbies. And I hope you also enjoyed the conversation.
A lot, yes. Yeah, it's my very first time that, how you mentioned that is a podcast, right? It's my very first time that I do. Actually, in pandemic, I was used to have face attend some conferences, and of course Zoom meetings we do a lot, but it's not on the same way. So I feel close to you. I was happy to, even if we are far away on the distance, but I feel very comfortable being with you here, and it's very beautiful. I recommend that you continue making it, because not only by your let's say, interest to discover things and have people in front of you talking about, but is how we can also share and how we can also yeah, make cross feelings and explain things that maybe by times in other articles are impossible. So to talk about some details, the only way we have a chance is to do that way. So thank you very much, also. I was very happy to do that.
Thank you so much, man. And any last message to the fans, those who are watching, Nepali fans?
See you again, and I hope see you again, and I hope that they can see my back, because will means that I will be in the touchline.
Yeah. Thanks so much for doing this, coach.
Yes, thank you. Namaste. Bye bye.